Ever struggled with email deliverability at scale? Imagine sending thousands of emails instantly with no bottlenecks, no duplicates, and no lost messages, even when the network fails. In this video, I'll show you how the new Resend Convex components let you queue, batch, and deliver emails reliably with built-in rate limiting, idempotency, and seamless integration using Resend's webhooks. Ready to see it in action? Let's go. First, what is Resend? Resend is an email API for developers that makes it easy to integrate email into your application. Now, we need to do something first, and that is authorize Resend to send on behalf of the domain that we're using. So let's do that now. So you can see over here, I've actually got this contact.portlandshoecompany.com. I've gone ahead and done this just so you've got it visible for you here, but we'll go through the process one more time. I can add a new domain, and anytime you add a domain, we usually recommend you use a subdomain, and that kind of gates your reputation for that particular subdomain. So maybe I'd say something like transactional, and then we'd use portlandshoecompany.com. And then I'm going to pick North Virginia. You just want to choose whatever one's closest to your end users. That would be that for me. And you'll notice here that anytime you're using something that we've got documentation for, we'll link to that. But now you'll just copy these one after the other to ensure that this particular domain can send on your behalf. Now again, we've done it for this transaction, which I didn't even spell correctly, but I could add the records or forward them to somebody else. Now, if I jump back over to the domains, that's exactly what I've done here, and it authorizes it fairly quickly. Next, let's set up the Convex project locally. So I'm going to jump over here to the code. Let's grab this right here, this link, and I'm just going to get clone, and we'll clone this Resend demo link. Then we'll move into that, and we want to install it and then run dev. Now, npm install will install all of our dependencies, and then npm run dev will get the project up and running. Now, because I haven't installed this on my machine before, I'll first need to log in with Convex. So let's do that. I could run it locally, but just so you get the full effect, let's log in or create an account. We'll call it Chris's MacBook Pro, and then we'll ask if it can open up the browser. So I'll say that's all right. Now it should open this up for me. Here, I'll go ahead and confirm that that is what I'm seeing in the CLI, and then I can log in with GitHub. Okay, so just like that, we should be set to go. Now what I need to do is add the project in Convex. So back over here, we've got a new project here. So let's create a new project. Resend demo should work. And let's choose cloud deployment. Okay, so it should get all this up at dashboard.convex.dev. Now, when it does all this, it'll spin up everything you need to run the project, and it will also open up Convex both locally, your dev environment, and also the actual Convex database where we can view all that stuff in the cloud. Now, there's just a few more setup steps that we need to take to make sure that this project has everything we need to connect to our Resend account. First of all, we need to create a Resend API key and pass that along to Convex. So let's do that next. So you can see here in the instructions for the README here, it's saying that I should set the Resend API key and pass it in. So to set it, I've got to actually grab that Resend API key. So I'll jump over to my dashboard, and right over here, let's just check API keys, click create new key. And here we can name it something. I'll just call this Convex demo, and then we'll add it. Now this should create an API key for you that you can then connect to this project. So I'll copy this and we'll paste this into our CLI. So let me go ahead and copy this command right here. We'll open this up, stop the dev terminal for now, and we simply want to replace this string here with our own custom string. Now it should go without saying, I'll delete this key before you've seen this video. Now that will add this to Convex, but there's still a few more steps we need to take. So you'll see the next thing I need to do is grab my site URL from Convex, because I want to feed that back in so that I can set up a webhook. So let's do that now. So I'll go ahead and ask it first of all for the site URL. We're going to use whatever it gives us here. This is the site where I'm set up at. We're going to use this in Resend to kind of connect that webhook to what we're doing in our local app. So back here in Resend, let's look at the webhooks. I'm going to add a new webhook, and we'll just say that this should be for everything, and we'll click add. Now, to securely use this webhook, you want to grab a signing secret and use that in Convex. That way, when you're hitting this webhook, you know you're authorized to do so. So I'll come over here and just copy this signing secret. And then we have just one more command here. We're going to paste this in. So let's go ahead and do that now. And I'll add that here so that everything is set up and ready to go. Now, briefly, before we jump straight into it, let's ask the question, what is a Convex component? Well, Convex components provide a modular library pattern to easily add sophisticated services integrated with your backend. They have clean APIs with private namespace tables to persist data and run workflows. And they support adding integrations, like integrating Resend into Convex apps, but it's done all in a standard way while maintaining Convex-powered reactivity. In other words, it's like a little app that you can just add onto your application, but you don't have to do any of the logic yourself. You simply pass it an API key and whatever else it needs, and then it can run all that in its own little namespaced area. So it's like a little app that Convex has built for you to integrate easily with services. In this case, we're going to do that with Resend. So let's jump into actually testing this app. And the first thing I'll need to do is provide an email. I want to use something that I've got authorized in Resend, which again is contact.portlandshoecompany.com. Then I can give my name, so we'll say something like Chris, and then the password, I'll just do whatever here. So let's sign up instead of sign in like that, and now we can actually sign up. Okay, perfect. Now I want to send a test email. All we've done is provide an API key to Resend, and then we've connected a webhook just to get some extra functionality. But now look, I can just select delivered. We could say delivered right here, and this could be whatever message I want it to be, and I can send a test email. And notice down here, the webhooks are going to trace the entire flow. It'll actually go to schedule it and then send it, and then eventually the email itself will be delivered. Now, all this is handled by Convex, and this is really the power of using Convex components because you don't have to worry about retry it logic or queuing or anything like that. It handles it all itself. Even if there's some kind of issue, it will retry that and make sure that you never duplicate emails, but that they always go out when you intend for them to go out. Now, we can actually see some more of this if we jump into the data here. Let's actually make this a little bit bigger. So we're looking at our functions in this case. We've gone from our app to now I want to jump into Resend. Notice you get all this built out of the box. This is all part of that Convex component where we're now sending an email, you can cancel an email, you can get the status of an email, and all this is built into that little app that again, this integration provides for you. So Resend handles all that delivery, but the Convex component makes it really easy for you as a developer. So let's go ahead and test a few other flows as well. You can see I can come over here to bounced and we'll say bounced and something here. And let's go ahead and send this test message. And then we'll do the same thing for complained like this, and complained. And then we'll send this test email as well. Now, all these are going kind of one after the other to queued to sent. And then all of this will be traced by that webhook as well. Now, you may have noticed an issue here, and that is I'm not actually getting the webhook back. And that's because of one thing I forgot in our setup. So you can see here, we've got complained and bounced and delivered. And we tracked that whole process using the Convex component, where it went from being queued to then being sent. However, we haven't gotten a response back yet from Resend. And the reason is we set up our webhook wrong. So let's actually look at the code and see what we did, and then we'll go fix it in Resend. So over here in my code editor, you'll see that the Convex component actually has this http.ts where it's at /resend webhook. That's where I have to actually point the webhook, and I did not do that. So it's not tracking that, but the emails still were sent. And in fact, we can prove that if I jump back over to Resend, you see complained, bounced, and delivered. So let's go ahead and fix our webhook. Here it is right here. I'm going to click inside of here, and then we'll just update this endpoint right here. So we need to go /resend webhook. That is the issue. Now this should work for us where whenever we send an email, it'll capture all that. You see it tried to attempt these, but it couldn't find that because it didn't exist. Okay, so back at it. Let's try it one more time. I'm going to jump back to our app. We'll do delivered, and then we'll have our message here, and we'll send our test email. It'll go through all this local queuing, and then when it hits the actual delivery status, look how this webhook updates that stat for us. So again, Convex is working together with Resend to send these out and then also track actually when they arrive or when they're delivered. Now we can also try bounced. So bounced like this, something here. And we'll also try complained one more time as well. So complained and complained. Now notice again, we've got delivered, we've got bounced, and we've got complained. Now, the important thing here is to understand how these test email addresses work. In fact, Convex has done something really smart where it limits you to test emails only until you're sure that you've got everything set up properly. Now, the reason we do this is because you can actually impact your deliverability while testing by using fake emails that don't exist. So what we've done is provide you a testing suite of emails like delivered or bounced or complained to see what will happen in those use cases so that you can handle them in your application, but it won't harm your deliverability in any way. So you can see over here, we've got delivered but complained, we've got bounced, and we've got delivered. So let's say you're ready to move from test mode to actual production. So let's look at that now. First of all, what I want to do is allow myself to send to somebody else besides these test emails. So we'll get rid of all this right here, like that. So if I come back over here, let's grab this current label and input like this. We want it to be basically the exact same, except in this case, we want this to say like to email. And then this is going to be the same thing, the selected recipient and set selected recipient. So this is the actual value we need to change because that's what's going to be passed on to the call. In fact, we can see that if I jump up top here and we look at this form submit, click inside here, you'll see that it's going to grab the selected recipient, the subject, and the message, and that's what we'll pass on to our function. It's now probably time to talk a little bit more about how this function works before we test this out. So you'll see that the Convex component right here does a lot of the work for us. And if I jump into this config, it's just using Resend when it instantiates this app. Now the app itself is going to use this emails call right here that will handle different mutations to our data. This will also do things like send out our emails. So if I jump back over up top here, you'll see that we've got this test mode set to true. I want to set this to false. Again, the Resend component will do all this inside of Convex. You can just simply pass on your data to it and do the basic calls that it gives you here. So you can see it's grabbing the subject and the body. That's from what I've passed through. Then it will do some basic auth checks, like ensuring that the user is logged in and they actually exist in the database. And then you'll notice it just sends the email using its own little wrapper here, resend.sendEmail. Now it's from and to and subject and HTML all come essentially from the things we've passed in, either from the user themselves. This would be like Chris and then Chris at contact.portlandshoecompany. That's the email I added to start with. So my name and my email, and then it will go to the things we passed in, to subject and body. Again, if you do not set this actually to false, so it defaults to true, it will not be able to send to anybody else. And that's to make sure that you don't harm your reputation accidentally until you're really ready to go to production. So we've set this to false now. We're now taking this in properly, which means now we should be able to test our component. So let's do that now. So if I come back over this way, now we can say to email, and let's say something like chris@resend.com, and I'll say hi. All right. And then we'll do sample message and send this off. So notice we're going to go through waiting to queued to sent. All that happens on Convex's side. And when we get that webhook back, it should say deliver. Let's now check this, first of all, in Resend. So if I come over here, we refresh, you'll see it says hi, just from whom I expected right here, everything I expected. Now let's also check my email inbox. And there it is. It says hi. So everything's working properly. Now, there's one other thing we want to think about when you're going to production, and that is I don't actually have an email address that can receive emails at contact.portlandshoecompany.com. So what I might want to do is add a reply to email. In fact, you can see here, if I try to reply to this like this, it will try to go to that exact address, and I don't have somebody there. So let's add one more thing to the call. Now the Convex component gives you the same thing the Node.SDK gives you, which is a reply to option here. So now if I send this, it should allow me to also reply to the email to Chris@Resend, which is where I actually have an email inbox set up. So let's test this one more time. So come back here, we'll say chris@resend.com. Ever had an email battle with yourself? Well, now's the opportunity. We're going to say send and test, and then let's go ahead and send this off. Once again, we'll go through the whole queuing processing system that the Convex component does. Then we'll get back all the data from the Resend webhook. So now it says delivered. Let's go check it over here. And there we go. Nothing like a quick refresh. And if I hit reply now, it should go to chris@resend.com. So you can see just how powerful this Convex component is. It doesn't just do the basics. It actually provides a bunch of extra functionality connected to your database. So you've got this real-time updating stuff, all with a predictable API, and Resend empowering all the email. Now, there's a bunch of other things you can obviously use Resend for within Convex. For instance, you might want to use this for some kind of contact form that auto-replies to the person, or a login, logout flow, password resets, and more. This Resend component abstracts away all the complexity so you can build robust email flows that are secure, have item potency built in with queuing, retrying, all built in, and much more. If you're interested more in videos on Convex or how to use this with Resend, let us know down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Happy sending.